So the topics of the day is called thought leadership. When I talk about thought leadership, I'll tell you about a few disclaimers first. Number one, nowhere close, I'm not a thought leader, but I do study people who've been very, very successful and who have marketed themselves beautifully as an individual, as a personality, and started taking notes. I'm putting it together in the form of a book that will eventually come out. And I thought I'll distill in some of the best learnings I've got, and I've picked up about 15 of them, and I'm putting it up. Research also shows that less than 2% of the room, less than 2% of you guys in the room will eventually put to action at least one or two of these, which means that none of you will do anything about it as you step out of this hall. So that way, it's good for us to set the expectations right. But take for what it's worth. This is what I've found. It'll be useful. All thought leaders who've been extremely successful, and the topic is about turning communication into commerce. And these are some of the thought leaders who've really mastered the art of being excellent in their field, and that's directly converted that into a business opportunity, are all people who have picked up a niche. A small area, but they have dug deep and they have become wonderful at that. One of the examples that I really find is this lady in North Carolina who runs a blog called the Cupcake Blog. When you get a chance when you go home, try Google around for Cupcake Blog or just go to cupcakeblog.com. If you go to that particular site, she does not write about cooking. No, sir. She does not write about baking. Nope. She writes only about baking cupcakes, day in and day out, different forms of cupcakes. And she has over 2 million views a month for her site. She signed up 2 book deals. She runs a TV show. Amazing how when you pick up one niche area and you drill deep, go in depth, that's a fantastic way to build yourself as a thought leader. Another thing that I've really found is people who are excellent thought leaders are also people who are excellent communicators. When I say communicators, not just people who have the gift of gab who can come on stage and talk, but people who can lucidly write down their thoughts in the form of articles, in the form of blogs, in the form of books. And more importantly, that these people are also extremely consistent in their approach. Notice the second line, and I want to read it, and if possible, I want you to memorize that. It says, be a producer, not a consumer. I'm going to tell you what I used to be doing and see if that matches with your habit, with your daily habit. I wake up in the morning. First thing I do is I grab the newspaper out of my doorstep. And then my wife comes and gives me a nice hot brew coffee. And I sip it while I read the newspaper. As I'm done, I would pick up my laptop. And the first thing I would do is go to gmail.com. It used to be Gmail second, but now it's Facebook first. I first go to Facebook, look out for that red icon on the top left, which shows your notifications. I finish that. Then I check my email. By the time it's time to get ready and head to office, take care of kids, and you get sucked into it. Does that sound familiar? No? If you shook your head since no, you're doing a good thing. Because that is exactly what I think is a beautiful way of not putting to good use the most fertile part of the day. They say when you've had about 6 hours of sleep, your body is rested and your mind is rested. And as you wake up, that 1 hour in the morning is the most productive, most fertile part of the day. And they say that instead of consuming news from newspaper, instead of consuming what your friends have written on Facebook and getting down to one-on-one communication on your Gmail, they say, do something that gives you the biggest bang for buck. Whatever you do, pick up something that really reaches to the maximum people. So for example, if you were a columnist in a newspaper, you write one column, one article in a newspaper, it goes to about tens of thousands of people. Put that as a number one. Then Put the fact that you're writing on your blog, let's say you get about hundreds of people, then your blog comes second. Third, then you get down to your Facebook and to your email. They say, take that area where you really, really get the max bang for your buck. Let me tell you what difference it mattered. I'm telling you this because I'm telling you with absolute conviction. For 10 long years, on December 31, 1999, I sat down and I wrote my wish list for the year 2000, my bucket list. I wanted to write a book, truly wanted to write a book, so that, to become that author. It was very elusive. I take my New Year resolution list for the next 10 years. Each and every year, my resolution of author a book, I never could strike it off. Until I met this gentleman called Mr. S. Muthaya, who's authored 18 books. He writes a beautiful column called Madras Miscellany in the Hindu. And he gave a tip. He gave a tip that he said 500 words before 9 a.m. That's it. Just memorize those words. 500 words before 9 a.m. And I wrote it down. I tried doing that, but I just wasn't successful at all. I would do it. Every day I would do it. But the biggest change that happened to me was when I took my daughter to Tidal Park for a story writing a lesson. There were about 500 kids at Tidal Park, all aged between 7 and 12. And all these kids were out there, and it's a workshop for how to make them write. And I will never forget this eyesight. This is what I saw, guys. 500 kids, eager, sitting in the hall. This is instructor who comes onto the podium, and he says, take a paper, take a pen. I'll give you 2 minutes. Write whatever comes to your mind. Whatever comes to your mind. The only thing you can't do is you cannot lift your head, you cannot take your pen off the paper. 2 minutes. And then I saw in unison all the heads go down and fervently all those kids write. For 2 full minutes, I didn't see a single kid raise his head. And he finished it. And all of them finished it. And they called up a few kids and said, read what you've written. People have written about their favorite games, about Dhoni, but the beauty of that is they were able to write. Most of them were able to fill up about half a sheet of paper, which I thought was brilliant. And that's when it stuck. Man, if you could do 2 things, 500 words before 9 a.m. and write anything that comes to your mind, fix up a topic, but don't worry about grammar, don't worry about your sentence formation, just write. It made a huge difference, guys. I'll tell you, it made a huge difference that 3 days back, I published my 4th book. For 10 years, guys, this was a dream that I was embarrassed of. I picked up these 2 tricks, and it's really, really worked. And I think as a thought leader, this is one of the reasons why I admire Anurag is because he's not only communicative, not only funny on stage, but he also constantly writes. Look at his editorials. Yeah? So it's very important for people to do it. So there's another example is Sandeep Verma, who sits right over there with the brown T-shirt in the center table. He runs a blog on events. So all events in Chennai that really captures, he comes, attends those events, goes back and writes about those events. And trust me, before you have your lunch, go to his blog and you would see that blog updated about what's happened in this event. So the way how he is building himself as a brand about event or about marketing that Anurag is doing, I think that's the great way to go about it. He's consistent in your writing, which is the reason why I think all of us, one of the reasons why we hate PowerPoint presentations, all of us, consistently we hate PowerPoint presentations is because it's boring. But you cut your PowerPoint presentation and focus on storytelling, you suddenly wake up, which is why we love watching movies. Because there's a storytelling element of it. And that's the reason why I truly think blogging is a super powerful tool. It's a great way for you to take the person on a journey of what's happening. For example, how was the stage that's designed, this backdrop? What was the story behind doing this? It's a way for you to build it up and really talk about what's happened behind things. That's the reason why I really like blogging, because you're doing it very, very in small little ways, in one paragraph, two paragraph, and you're updating it, and it's a lot easier. Coffee day. You sit across your friends, and you get this cappuccino, and you sip your coffee, and you're having this conversation. Ask yourself, did you the night before sit down and do preparations on what you wanted to speak? You don't. It's natural. You're having a natural conversation. And I think if you treat blogging the same way as a cup of coffee with your friend in coffee day, that's a great way for you to win that game. So try that out the next time.